With two states down, the primary is in full swing. National standings are shaking up and entire caucus results are being contested. Now, the question is, will Joe Biden's campaign die faster than America's belief in democracy? Only time and this show will tell. This is Primary Focus. First, let's look at the race as it stands. Bernie Sanders, first choice among college students and last choice among the parents paying their tuition, is leading nationally. I mean, who would have thought the message of you shouldn't have to die just because you're poor would be so widely accepted? He won the Iowa popular vote and the New Hampshire primary outright. He's also got one of the largest war chests thanks to millions of small dollar donations and one of the most diverse bases of supporters. He's looking like the one to beat here. Of course, enemies of the people will argue that a socialist could never beat Trump and also ignore all that stuff I just said. They'll point to one of the more moderate candidates that are hot on his heels as the one to rally behind. For instance, Pete Buttigieg is doing great with his own demographic of voters, white capitalists. Ignoring all the discrepancies and the fact that respected news outlets still haven't called the race, he came in first in Iowa and an undeniably close second in New Hampshire. Still, his national polling average has barely moved. This is largely due to his racist police force in South Bend, his lack of any clear messaging for the working class, and the fact that he's just the snitch from Recess grown up. Klob the God, Amy Klobuchar, placed third in New Hampshire. She's arguably the reason why Buttigieg only got second, but it's hard to say why, and her supporters probably can't tell you either. Her momentum primarily came from the 65 and up demographic that made their decision in the last 4 days. At least one lady gave her reason.
I voted for Amy Klobuchar.
Tell me why.
I actually went in and eeny, meeny, miny, mowed it.
You're kidding me.
No, between
Literally
two candidates.
in the booth.
In the booth.
What the Klob lacks in messaging, she makes up for in luck. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren has done remarkably poorly in the first two states where she's campaigned the most, coming in a distant fourth in New Hampshire and a disappointing third in Iowa. She still hasn't dropped out, but she has started pulling her resources from the next two states, Nevada and South Carolina. Exit polls in New Hampshire had people labeling her as both too liberal and too moderate. So far, the only candidate to successfully unite the party in thinking she sucks. Joe Biden did terribly in the first two states, and it seemed like he knew it was coming.
I took a hit in Iowa, and I'll probably take a hit here. Traditionally, Bernie won by 20 points last time.
He's really looking at the next two states to be his saving grace, but it's getting harder to convince people that you can beat Donald Trump when you can't even beat Pete. I think that if he gets anything less than first place, it's going to be his cue to exit. Speaking of which, we've said goodbye to a few challengers in the earliest battles of the year. First, the guy who got rich by taking advantage of our broken healthcare system, and my best friend, John Delaney, dropped out before voting could even begin in Iowa. Deval Patrick, Michael Bennet, and Andrew Yang all wish that they had the courage to be cowards, instead placing pathetically in the places they invested the most. My advice for next time? Try being on TV more. Take some advice from the pocket-sized Nosferatu, Michael Bloomberg. He's plastered himself on so many TVs, phones, and computers around the world that he's bought his way into third in the national polls. He's pretty much just hoping people forget his lifetime of evil so bad he makes Bowser look like Franklin the Turtle. Like Bowser, he's got a terrible track record with women, having faced 40 different sexual harassment lawsuits, telling a pregnant woman to just kill her baby, fighting to keep gay marriage illegal, endorsing the racist tactic of stop and frisk, saying taxing the poor was good and taxing the rich was bad, and that's not even everything. Seriously, this guy has more skeletons in his closet than Robert Durst. A good sign for those still in the race is that he won't be on the ballot in the next two states. We won't know if the damage has already been done until Super Tuesday in March. Before that, of course, we have Nevada, which is a caucus just like Iowa, which, as a reminder, was terrible. On the plus side, they're not using the exact same app as Iowa, but on the downside is everything else. They're still using a brand new app. The rules haven't been locked into place yet. The volunteers don't even know what's going on. I mean, it looks like they're hosting a board game night where no one knows the rules, everyone's yelling, the toilet's overflowing, and the whole thing is being live streamed. South Carolina is after that, and thankfully, it's just another primary. Just a classic pick your favorite. As the least white state so far, this is where Warren and Biden are hoping to make their mark. Along with Sanders, they're the only ones with any significant non white support, and this is where that comes into play. Both states are looking tough to call, but Bernie is looking like he has the best chance in decades to lock in all four of the early states, and that has got to make him feel pretty happy. Not as happy as I am to thank today's sponsor.
Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg is running for president, and you have the opportunity to vote for him. You've got the lucky chance to make a rich man more powerful. Michael Bloomberg, he's got more than $1 billion. He's full of talents. I respect him, and he's not that much shorter than average. Michael Bloomberg. He's rich.
Thanks for watching. See you next time for more Primary Focus.